You might have just seen a video over on GCN where I was lucky enough to sample a very small slice of some epic Idaho gravel riding. If you have, you'll undoubtedly be here to find out a little bit more about the bike that I was using for it. If not, I'm sure you're here to get a bit more info on the Rotor 1X13 group set that they're very kindly supplied, not just so that I could ride around the Rockies, but also so that I could tell you all about it. Now, Rotor actually don't have any links to Idaho. They're based just outside Madrid in Spain, as they have been since the company was founded in the late 90s. Their first product was the non-round chainring called the Q-ring, of which I have one on this bike here. For me though, they're synonymous with exquisitely machined CNC parts. Now, back in 2016, they invited GCN out to Madrid to sample what at the time was their latest project, which was an entire new group set they called Uno. And it was unique because not only was the braking hydraulically activated, the shifting was as well. Then 2 years later, late in 2018, they launched the successor 1X13, which we have here. Now, so called because the front derailleur has now gone, and at the rear cassette, we've now got 13 sprockets. Now, how they've actually created a 13-speed group set is very cool indeed, because first you have to overcome the challenge of how you fit 13 sprockets out at the back. And amazingly, this one actually still is based around a standard Shimano free hub body. However, to get those 13 sprockets in, you do need to use a different hub. So it basically extends outboard a little bit beyond the free hub body, and that allows Rotor to machine a small 10-tooth sprocket onto their cassette, and that hangs over the edge, and then you screw the cassette on. It's a little bit like a SRAM XD driver. And then at the other end, the inboard end, the hub flange is spaced a little bit further over, so that then still allows you to get that 13th sprocket on there. But interestingly, if you don't want to get a new hub, Rotor are actually supplying 12-speed cassettes as well, and they work off the same spacing, and they do work off a completely standard Shimano free hub body. You lose that smaller 10-tooth sprocket, but the reason it all fits in is because 12-speed and 13-speed spacing is that little bit narrower, but it's not proprietary to Rotor. They're using a standard 12-speed KMC chain on here. Before we leave this cassette, I also just want to draw your attention to that previous point about exquisite CNC machining, because this is an absolute case in point. Not only is it beautiful, it's also incredibly light, just over 300 grams for a 10 to 52 13-speed option. Now, the fact that it's got 13 speeds is also quite important, because on a standard 2x11 group set, you actually get quite a lot of gear overlap, and so you only have 14 unique gears. And so actually with a 1x13, you're getting very close to that option. Rotor will give you a choice of 4 13-speed cassettes, ranging from a 10 to 36 right up to a 10 to 52, which, if you're thinking, well, that's more like a mountain bike cassette, you'd be right, because actually this very same group set with a change of shifter is also suitable for mountain bikes, and then this drop bar version can also be used either on gravel like it is here, or indeed on a road bike as well. The shifting mechanism itself has remained relatively unchanged since Uno, and in fact the shifters are exactly the same in that they use that push-push technology, which is similar to SRAM's double tap. You press the lever a little way and you get a downshift into a harder gear, and you press the lever further and you shift into easier gears. But the shifter actually doesn't have very much going on in there at all. All the important shifting gubbins are in this actually armour-plated, robust box on this rear derailleur. Now, as it's 1x, you of course have a clutch on there, and you can disengage it in order to take your back wheel out easily with this very neat lever here. Then another cool function is this little button, which is called return to origin. And so if, again, when you want to take your back wheel out, you simply press that button and the derailleur returns back to your smallest sprocket, meaning that you don't have to faff around shifting at the lever. Now, all in, the group set weight is just over 2,500 grams, which is mighty impressive really. It's just a shade more than an equivalent electronic group set. In part, I'm sure, down again to that exquisite CNC machining. We've concentrated on the gears so far. The other part of the group set is the brakes, of course, and these are made in collaboration with Magura, who of all companies in cycling, probably have the longest track record of working with hydraulics. The other obvious Rotor branded part that you can see is that twin power meter, which, well, the altitude was my excuse for it not actually showing me that many watts this time. And as I said, also was running a Q ring there as well. Moving on from the group set, the frame of the bike, as you can see, is the new G1 gravel bike from Viathon. I won't go into too much detail about it here because we will have a full video on it coming very soon. But in essence, the carbon frame weighs just over 1,000 grams for this size. You can fit monster 51mm wide tyres on there, and that's on a 700C wheel like here, as well as a smaller diameter 650B wheel. These tyres, however, are just 40mm wide. They are the Jewel.wav G1s. Now, other neat touches on the frame are on the practical end of the spectrum. So you've got fender mounts, mudguard mounts, and also rack mounts. And it's also got 3 sets of bottle bosses, although, as you can see, I've only used one for this relatively, well, all too brief ride. The bottle itself, though, is something I've not come across before. So it's by a company called Fidlock. As you can see, there is no bottle cage. Instead, there's a combination of magnets and then also a mechanical clasp. So the magnets guide the bottle back into place, where the mechanical clasps then hold it locked in position, and it won't bounce out until you twist it. So it works very much like a clipless pedal. Last little trick bits to point out on this bike, we've got Envy rims laced on to those Rotor hubs, remember. Finishing kit, we've got Zip SL70 stem and seat post. It's monster flared Envy gravel bars on there, and also a Physique Aleante saddle. You'll also have noticed, well, you can't fail to have noticed, that I wasn't wearing my normal GCN clothing. I was very kindly loaned a Rudy Project Spectrum helmet and Defender glasses, Showers Pass clothing, and also that bum bag, which was also on loan as well. If you haven't seen that video over on GCN now, where I got to ride with the legendary Rebecca Rush on a small slice of Idaho gravel, then do make sure you check that one out. And also let us know in the comments section what you think about this Rotor 1x13 group set. Lastly, give this video a big thumbs up.